Hi there, and welcome to Naturally Recovering Autism. I am your host, Karen Thomas, and I want to thank you so much for being here and being a proactive parent and getting the resources that you need to let your child live their most fulfilling and independent life possible. When my own son was diagnosed with autism, I was told to drug him and try behavioral therapies, and there was nothing else that we could do for him but manage his symptoms the rest of his life. But I didn't want to do that. Fortunately, my background in craniosacral therapy of now 30 years let me know that the brain can and does heal, but I didn't know that much about autism. What I did know is that I didn't want to just mask the symptoms with dangerous drugs. I wanted to find the causes and work with them naturally. And fast forward, it took me a decade and a lot of time and effort, but today my son is no longer diagnosable with autism after being told it could not happen. So I'm here to share with you valuable resources to save you the time and some of the expense that I had to spend to figure it out, and to help you let your child lead to their best results possible. Every child's level of recovery is different, but we know that children who couldn't sleep through the night are sleeping now through the night and happily. Their immune systems are now strong where they were once sick all the time. Children who were nonverbal and their parents were told they could never speak are now speaking. Children who were getting D's and F's in school are getting A's and B's. And those that were so anxious all the time and couldn't sit still and were uncomfortable in their own bodies are now calm and happy and relaxed. And they're leading fulfilling and independent lives with friends. This is what we want for our kids. So I'm here to share the resources with you so that you can get the best results for your child, the best possible. And you can start that right now with my free download of the top 7 foods to eliminate beginning today, of the top foods that are the most inflammatory and toxic that are contributing to those physical and behavioral symptoms of autism that your child is having. They're making his life uncomfortable. So you can get that right now at naturallyrecoveringautism.com/7 foods. And feel free to share that with anybody you know who would be interested. And I will also link to it in today's show notes. There's, of course, a lot more than diet, but this is something you could start doing today that will begin to reduce those symptoms. And I'm happy to share everything I can with you. So right now, let's dive into today's episode. Hi there, and thank you for tuning into this week's episode. Before we get started with today's conversation, I'm excited to release an exclusive offer just for you. For a limited time, you can get priority access to my newest program, the Autism Recovery Kickstart, 30 Days Toward Naturally Recovering Autism. This program features 30 days of resources, community, and support for your family's journey, with an on-demand access to exclusive content, tools of empowerment, and daily resources to guide you through the program at your child's own pace. Registration is live today. So go to naturallyrecoveringautism.com/kickstart and register for the event now. Again, that is naturallyrecoveringautism.com/kickstart. This week's episode is really pertinent to why some brain supplement programs don't work. Many parents end up plateauing for various reasons. And, of my 4 stages, there's healing the gut, and then there's natural heavy metal detoxification, and of course, the co-infections of autism, mold, Lyme, strep, all of these other things, and then brain support and repair. But then this brain support doesn't sometimes work as well as parents want it to, and they wonder why. Now, with autism or ADD, sometimes our kids end up being put on psychotropic medications. Many times those drugs can make them worse in the long term because, for one, they're not getting the toxic reduction, they're not having detoxification, they're not having the gut healing, and these underlying pathogens and infections aren't getting dealt with. The medication is somewhat masking the symptoms, which may be appealing in the beginning, but eventually you'll see that your child will often need a higher dosage, and then it's not working as well, so they want to add in another medication. And we're trying to avoid these things. We want to go for those underlying causes, and what can we do to help them? I know this was my personal story for my son. I was told that I should drug him and try behavioral therapies, and good luck. There was really nothing more that we could do for him. But I didn't want to do that. I knew from my 30 years of background in craniosacral therapy that the brain can and does heal. It's a scientific fact. But I didn't know that much about autism. And fortunately, I began researching as you are, and I was able to gain extreme results for my son. It was better than I even imagined. Now, he is no longer diagnosable today because of the research that I did and implemented. And that is the key, is being consistent and implementing the right things and knowing what all of those right things are. But it is important to also understand that there are some supplements that can be assisting, but they may not be as working as well. So sometimes there are reasons why things aren't working as well. So whether your child has autism or ADD or ADHD or other neurological imbalance, it's known that these natural brain supplements often work far better than pharmaceutical drugs without the negative side effects. Now, if you're not seeing those desired results from your brain supplement treatment program, there are several possibilities as to why. So I just wanted to say a few things about that. One is it could be the wrong diagnosis. If they go in and they're just trying to mask a symptom and your child still has an underlying infection of extreme parasite infections, which affect the brain, or heavy candida overgrowth that is affecting their brain. Or, of course, they're eating the wrong foods, the gluten and the casein that are causing so much inflammation in the gut and the brain. Or, of course, mold biotoxins or Lyme disease. As we know, these are very common in autism recovery. And I'm going to be going through these in my Kickstart program. So again, hopefully you got the link before this episode, and you go to naturallyrecoveringautism.com/kickstart to be sure that you register for that event so you can learn more if you don't know that already. Also, the wrong brain supplement treatment protocol, supplements, medications, or therapies. This also means incorrect dosages. It is really common that parents are not giving the right dosages. And it's so important that we also start out with anything with a very low dosage of a supplement with our kids, because they're very sensitive, and then slowly titrate up to more if you're not seeing the desired results. Also knowing that citric acid is, if it's taken too close to many supplements, that citric acid is, as in orange juice or lemonade, and also used as a preservative in many things. So you want to look for it on your labels. It deactivates some medications and some supplements, even natural supplements. So don't ingest it within an hour of taking other medications or supplements. And I'm talking about even natural supplements. There's also stress hormones, namely corticosteroids. They damage brain cells, especially the temporal lobes. Now, the temporal lobes are the ones on the sides of your head around your ears. And as a craniosacral therapist, my background and knowledge, I'm sharing with you that under the temporal lobes have a lot to do with speech centers of the brain. So speech can be affected. And they also have a lot to do with anger, mood stability, and control. So there is a lot under those temporal lobes. So just know that those stress hormones can actually be damaging to the temporal lobes. So we want to make sure that they also may counteract the effectiveness of some treatments. So we really want to reduce the stress levels as much as possible. And again, as I'm always coming from the underlying reasons for stress, there's a lot of stress on our bodies and our kids' bodies when there is a toxic overload or a pathogenic infection, as I've been talking about as well. These things are causing extreme stress on the system, the adrenal glands, the thyroid, and the adrenals are where those stress hormones or those corticosteroids and are really getting affected. So we want to reduce stress levels. We want to do exercise. We want to be able to get our kids as balanced as possible with the right diet. All of these things are essential. There could be a lack of support from family, school, caregivers, or therapists. That can all create stress as well. School can just be like a minefield for some kids. They're also can get strep or other infections from school. They could be exposed to mold biotoxins in the classroom. There are other things at school that can also be affecting them to be aware of, that it may not just be the school and the whole episode of being in the whole sensory overloaded environment that also affects them, but which is definitely important to be aware of. But it can also be these other things that they're exposed to as well, that the toxins and other pathogens. They again can be also on the wrong diet. Now, we've talked about diet a lot. You know that, gluten and casein, the proteins in dairy and wheat are very inflammatory. They create opiates in the system, just like the opiate drug. So your child is very likely addicted to them. That's why I know the picky eating and that, it's hard to transition out. But if you slowly transition away from those foods, it can be very beneficial to their system too. And if you haven't gotten my free food guide, I want to make sure you know the top 7 foods to avoid and why. So you can get that at naturallyrecoveringautism.com/7 foods, just the number 7 in foods, with no spaces in between. Because it's important to know to begin removing those first 7 foods as just the very beginning process. Because as we create those, by eating those bad foods, we're creating those opiates in the body, we're creating more inflammation, and it can be surprising how much it can affect your child's health and their behavior. So know that food is very, very, very important. Now, of course, it is not everything, but it is an absolute essential piece of the pie. Other thing is caffeine and nicotine use. Now, if you have a young child, they're probably not using nicotine. Older ones, young adults, may be using nicotine. Caffeine is also another thing that can trigger them as well, or can cause the natural supplementation not to work. Another one, and I'm a huge advocate of exercise. Exercise is extremely important. You want to get your kids out in nature as much as possible. We're on cement too often, and we need earth, we need sand, we need dirt, we need, dirt on our feet. And get out and get some exercise. There is something so therapeutic about it. I always say never, ever underestimate the power of exercise for stress reduction, as well as for overall health. You're really moving your blood and you're oxygenating your blood and your heart and all of these things that are so important to also release the excess energy and anxiety that some people have. So exercise is very important, even if it's just a walk. For your child, if you take them to the park and they can pull their body up on like some pull-up bars, or at school, pull-up bars, things like that are very important for their body and can really be calming to the system too. And an additional one here is taking the over-the-counter medications or supplements that actually interfere with the treatments that you're doing. So you may be doing some great, wonderful, and natural things. You know that I'm all about natural. But then you've given your child an over-the-counter medication, maybe a cough syrup or some other supplement that you didn't really know about any side effects it might be having, and that might be interfering with the treatment. Another one is mixing together incompatible medications and supplements. Again, this can cause the natural supplements to not work because the medications might be counteracting them. Also be aware of some supplements and medications having artificial ingredients and food dyes in them. Food dyes, especially FD&C red, can cause a lot of anger. Yellow has lead in it, causes more, again, aggressive and anger episodes. So it's important to note to make sure that there aren't colorings in them, as well as corn or soy or gluten or dairy ingredients in them at all. Again, not staying on natural supplements for a long enough period of time to allow them to actually work. Many take a minimum of 3 to 6 weeks to actually build naturally in the system, because something like, say, 5-HTP, which is a fabulous supplement, it bypasses any need for conversion in the liver, and it creates and builds serotonin in the body. Well, our brains need serotonin, and when the gut is damaged and it not working well, it will not be making enough serotonin. And serotonin is responsible for things like mood stability, sleep regulation, appetite satiety. So it's a really, really important supplement if you're needing that. So 5-HTP might not be, some people take it for a week and they think, this really isn't working, so I'm just going to stop. Or any other supplement for that matter. You've got to give natural things time, because we're not just drugging something really fast that could cause further worsened behaviors over time. You're really trying to help the body, just assist it to do things that it naturally could do if it were working better. So our job is really trying and working to work with the underlying causes that are the cause of the symptom, not just masking symptoms. Another one is purchasing cheaper, lower quality products in order to save money. I cannot tell you how often I see this one, and I understand the financial expense of a child with autism and the whole recovery process and the therapies and the everything, that it just can be overwhelming, and you want to try to save money. But if you know the right supplements to take, and that again is 16 years I've been researching that one to weed out the 95% of things that don't work, because there are so many poor supplements and subpar supplements out on the market. It's unbelievable. And finding the 5% of the best of the best. Now, it may cost a little bit more initially or seem like it does, but in the long run, it's going to save you money because you're going to get better results. They're actually going to work. And you will likely need less dosages of them over time. You won't have to take as much because they work better. So you save money. It actually does save you money in the long run, even though you think initially that you're saving money. So you want them to work, and you want them to also not be something you have to, give 10 drops of something to get the same result that you would get out of 2 drops of something else that was a better quality. So I'm sure that you can understand that. So again, yeah, purchasing these lower quality products in order to save money is never worth it. But again, you need to be aware of what the good products are. Not having the right doctor, oh my gosh, using the doctor on your insurance plan can sometimes seem like it's cheaper again at first, but may cost you far more in the long run. If they're not an autism specialist, they don't have a brilliant, and I would check into it, a great track record of helping other kids recover from the symptoms of autism on all levels and have really good success rate with somebody, then they are a waste of your money. I don't care what their credentials are. You want to ask them, find out, get some testimonials, find out what other people have to say about what they've done for their kids with autism, and have they been successful. That is really important to know that you're working with the right person and somebody who truly understands your needs. I think somebody who has had a child of their own with autism is far more understanding as well than somebody who has never lived through it. Because as you and I know, you can never understand what it is like to have a child with autism unless you have one of your own. I can absolutely relate to what you're going through. The last piece I'm going to mention here is being in denial about what your child really needs and not getting the proper help. There are so many well-meaning parents, but they try to say, oh, my child's just fine the way they are. They don't need anything else. But their child may be living with anxiousness or, these intense sensory overload issues or gut issues, health issues. They can't sleep at night. They're socially disconnected. They have poor speech, and they're truly not happy. It's not about trying to change a child into something that they're not. It's about allowing them to be who they truly are. My son was once aggressive as a child, and I always want to say your child's not an angry person. It's that the toxins and inflammation are causing this behavior. Today, my son is happy, healthy, and he's the most easygoing guy. You wouldn't even imagine that he used to have that behavior. And I like to share that because I want to give you some hope and inspiration to know that if you know what to do and you're working with those underlying causes and you're knowing the right pieces, you've got a good plan in place, and you're working with the right person, then you can get the results that you're looking for. So that's why many of these, we can get the desired results that we actually want and help our kids to live a higher, greater quality of life with more independence. So I hope that this has been helpful for you. And I say these things to inspire you and educate you and also help you understand that there are solutions that can work, and not to get discouraged. because the key with autism recovery is consistency. It takes a long time. It's a process that is slow and steady. But if you're consistent and you're doing the right things and you know what to do, then your child, you can see the results that you're hoping for, whatever those might be for your child. So if I can be of help to you, please join that Kickstart program that I mentioned that I've got. It's a great way to give you resources in a very simplified way. And again, the registration is available now at naturallyrecoveringautism.com/kickstart. And if I can be of help to you, I want to, because I really know that you need the support, and I want to help you get it and give it to you, and that your child can get the best life possible for them, because they deserve it too. Thanks again for listening today and for being here and for being a proactive parent and what you're doing for your child. You're a fantastic parent. I'm here to tell you that right off the bat. You are great for what you're doing, and I appreciate you, and so does your child. Thanks for being here, and take care. We'll see you soon.